The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
I was looking at my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea, and four great beasts were coming up from the sea, different from one another. The first one was like a lion, and had wings of an eagle. I kept looking until its wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man. A human mind also was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second one, resembling a bear, and it was raised up on one side, and 3 ribs were in its mouth between its teeth. And thus they said to it, "Arise, devour much meat." After this I kept looking, and behold, another one, like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I kept looking in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrifying, and extremely strong, and it had large iron teeth. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the remainder with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And while I was contemplating the horns, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were pulled out by its roots before it. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth uttering great boasts. I kept looking until thrones were set up, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His vesture was like white snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was ablaze with flames. Its wheels were a burning fire. A river of fire was flowing and coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands were attending him, and myriads upon myriads were standing before him. The court sat, and the books were open. Then I kept looking because of the sound of the boastful words which the horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain, and his body was destroyed and given to the burning fire. As for the rest of the beasts, their dominion was taken away, but an extension of life was given to them for an appointed time period. I kept looking in the night visions, and behold, the clouds of heaven. One like a son of man was coming, and he came up to the Ancient of Days, and was presented before him, and to him was given dominion, glory, and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and men of every language might serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which will not pass away, and his kingdom is one which will not be destroyed.
In this episode of A Breath of Fresh Air, we journey into the prophetic visions of Daniel 7, where vivid and awe-inspiring dreams reveal the rise and fall of empires. We unravel the symbolism, explore the meaning behind the 4 beasts, and uncover what ancient prophecies mean for us today. Join us as we deep dive into the captivating chapter that bridges history, future, faith, and mystery. As always, be blessed and enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air podcast, here with your hosts,
Nakhaz Gate.
and Earl Roberts. Hopefully everyone had a great week. We are back again for another episode, so it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a pretty exciting episode, pretty educational episode. It's not, I don't even know what to say. It's prophetic. That's the word I'm looking for. It's prophetic. It isn't really narrative, but it's prophetic, and it holds a lot of weight. And this
Yeah, there's
go for it.
not too many narratives to expect.
I don't even know if
Unless
we
you
have a
want to hear,
skit for this episode. Really, the truth.
yeah, unless you want to hear a story about a guy receiving a vision. You know what I'm saying?
Skit probably got to be Daniel waking up scared.
Yeah.
But how's your week been?
Well, my week was okay, man. Same old with work. I've been putting in extra time in the gym, trying to get my leg back to its full strength, full mobility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've been doing this almost every day for months now. I can't wait to be healed, but it's just interesting because you pick up a lot of bad habits just out of necessity. Like your leg might move a certain way because you're not strong enough to, let's say, standing up from the seated position. You might lean to the left because that's your stronger leg, but now you gotta unlearn that. You gotta trust your weaker leg to
better weight,
hold some of better weight. And so that's just what I've been doing. When I sit, when I stand, when I walk, when I jog, just trying to make sure that my form is right so that I don't pick up bad habits and put too much wear and tear. It's like when you got to get your tires rotated because your car might be leaning a certain way or just holding a lot of pressure in one way. So you got to keep things balanced. Like I'm just making sure that my form and my posture is correct so that I could be able to sustain for the rest of my life.
Yeah, man, you can be straight. You straight.
Yep.
I've seen you go from not walking to walking with cane to limping to walking pretty much. So I've seen the progress in real time.
Yeah, it's been a journey, bro. I can't lie, but I'm thankful to be where I am now. I was doing something today and I was like, man, I remember the first time I did this. This was so painful. But yeah, God restores.
That he
how
does.
About you? How was your week?
I made it through. I had a crazy week, man. Like there was another project that I wasn't even associated on, but I brought in to like kind of lend support as needed, just for calculations and stuff, just in case the person needed. And like my boss was super like pressed that this needed to go out today, right? Today being Friday, the day we actually recording this, but I was more stressed about a job that wasn't even mine than my own jobs. But God is good, man. I was like, you realize some things you stress for, you don't really need to be stressing for. And guess what? It still didn't even get submitted today. But I kind of like had my own project set up worried about. So I kind of say, hey, if you guys need me, let me know. But if you don't, I am more than okay with not being needed. But God is good, man. God is good. And it's a Sabbath. Get to relax as best as we can, and enjoy some good time with some good people this weekend. And it's going to be a good time, man. God is good. Happy for the Sabbath's rest. And I don't have to worry about stuff until Sunday night.
For real.
All right. A thought that comes to my mind even before we start is just a thought of faith and kind of just based off the episode we had last week, right? Episode 197 with Daniel going into the lion's den. And, just a couple of thoughts that come to my mind is that, how important faith is and how important just living the lifestyle that you preach. You know what I'm saying? Like these men knew the only thing that could have been done to Daniel was something to get him, to catch him on like worshiping his God. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to come up with a law to make his good character immoral. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Daniel was so good, they had to use his goodness against him. And to me, that just speaks about his character. Like, yo, the only thing we can do is find a way to make what is legal illegal, so we can capture him. And again, like, you know, some like us going through these stories in Daniel, you know, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and just wondering, like, how would I be in these circumstances? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would love to say that I would be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I would love to say I would be like Daniel, but you never truly know until your feet get held to the fire, or you get thrown into the furnace, or you get thrown into the lion's den, when you're truly facing certain death. But yeah, man, it just speaks to their character, because they didn't shy away, they didn't hide, but they had the faith that, you know, we trust our God can deliver us, and no matter what, we're not going to turn our back on him, because we've seen what he has done for us in our lives. And it's interesting too, right? Because again, these are the guys who were taken from Judah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were taken into captivity. They've seen their city get sacked. They've seen their families get ripped apart, right? But to still have this faith in a foreign land after you've seen the negative sides of disobeying God, right? But you didn't lose hope. You didn't lose faith. You know what I'm saying? You still held on to what you know is true. And while in captivity, you've seen how God has blessed your life, blessed their life, blessed their lives, however you want to say it. And they say, you know what? This is what we should be doing, and we're not turning our backs. And I think that's pretty commendable. And I was just like reflecting on that as through the week, really and truly. We record our last episode on Wednesday, so the last couple of days, and that's just been like, you know, pretty impactful. Like, it's a good reminder of how we should be living our lives and how our lives should be an example to others. But, you know, just reading yourself into the story and just seeing how you would respond in certain situations.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes God does stuff for us, and we sometimes we just try to assume, man, this was just how it was gonna end up anyway. Like, God didn't do this for me. Like, I probably was gonna get the job anyway. It just is what it is type situation. Sometimes we we might pray for something, or we might really be worried about something. When it come to fruition, we just assume this the natural order of things, and in a lot of ways that could take away the glory and our need to be dependent on God. When Daniel was in the lion's den, that was a miracle for sure. So it's like, that's one of them situations where it's like, you can't deny it. But even some people could deny it. They might have rationalized, bro. Like you mentioned last week, the lions wasn't hungry. You know what I'm saying? It's just circumstance, it's just happenstance. But I feel like in our everyday journey, we need to be able to remember our blessings, count our blessings, so that we can remember how powerful God is, and so that we don't take these things for granted. And I feel like that greatly affects our faith, bro. Like, you could pray for the job. You know what I'm saying? You pray for the job, you actually get the job. But then it's like, thank you, God. And it's no big deal. We ain't saying, oh, bro, God, really look out for me. This ain't like when you have a homie who really do you a solid. Like, you just don't forget that, bro. Dog, when I needed a place to stay, you open your apartment for me. You get what I'm saying? Like, these things, like it ain't that forgettable, But God does stuff for us all the time, and be thankful for it in a moment. But then we forget about it. If we used to jot down our blessings consistently, like how we said a couple of years ago on the pod, you might look back and be like, "Wow, I was worried about this thing.
Mercy.
God bring me through it, and this ain't nothing to me no more." You know what I mean? Like, I gotta like sometimes we elevate and we grow, but we don't take the time to really bask in the grace and mercy of God. And it's scientists and people who don't believe in God that say, "Oh, this person was a bad person," and they found, quote unquote, found God, found religion. Oh, it's not God who changed them. They just decided to do better. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they didn't. God didn't give them a raise. The probability of them getting a raise was higher because was it's very high because they do this amount of work. It's like so many things we do to logically try to exclude God from getting His glory, and these things can really damage our faith, bro. So let's give God what is just due to him. And
Amen.
then, we could use that as a foundational piece to, continue to grow in our faith and to rely on God.
And one thing you said that was super like important too, right? Like, man, when you look back at your life, even like 5 years ago, the things you were worried about, the things you were just scared about, earnestly praying for, right? Most times, those things are like afterthoughts to you now.
Mm-hmm.
God already brought you over that hump. You already climbed to that mountaintop. Like, and then you look, I guess what I'm trying to say is we as human beings, most times, like we can't see past what's right in front of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes all it takes is just looking back over our shoulders, turning around and seeing the path that God has already brought us through, the storms that he's delivered us from, the times he actually was with us when we were in our lion's den moment, and just saying like, God, you brought me through this. I can trust you to bring me through whatever I'm going through now. And just being appreciative of how far you've come. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, remember like 2 years ago when we were like worrying about buying houses and all that kind of stuff. Now it's like, look at us now. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, God is great, man. God is great. God is great. And it's a
Amen,
blessing.
bro.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel, bro. Because sometimes, sometimes I might pray to God, hey God, like open up this door for me. God, open up the door for me. But sometimes I don't know, bro. Sometimes it just don't be impressive to me, bro. This is literally the thing I pray for, right? This is
Mm,
literally the thing I pray for, and it come to fruition. But because it wasn't like it's because it didn't feel like a miracle. Sometimes in the back of my mind, like a thought is there, like you could have get this anyway. Like you ain't have to pray for God to get you this car. You have the money to procure this car on your own. You know what I'm saying? But no, I
hmm
pray to God that He, make sure this deal don't fall through, make sure this a good situation and all these things. And it does check the box. These are things that are out of my control. But a lot of times, if it ain't a flashy situation, we try to make it normal. We
hmm
try to make it, and when we put ourselves in this situation, like faith, bro, like the Hebrew boys, they put God to the test. Yes, right? They had faith in God. But when they saw God coming through in their life, these things build your endurance. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? It helps you to be able to say, look, okay, let me give you an example. My boy, I have a brethren from my neighborhood. We all us raised in the same neighborhood. We never talk about God. And I confident that he wasn't a religious person. Like I know his parents, I know his brothers. No, just a
hmm
regular dude. Now he's super religious. He not a Christian. He's super religious though. Like he's super strong in his beliefs. You know. Right now, I can't be mad because I know if God was to come right now, like he could be judged according to his light. And
hmm
I know he really trying hard. But when me and him converse, and he telling me the reason for his faith, it don't shake me when he say, I don't believe that Jesus is God. You know what I'm saying? And he's serious about this, bro. Like he ain't like I believe he, is miseducated. But I don't think this from a malicious place.
hmm
But it don't shake me because I've had my personal experience with God. I know when I call on Jesus, bro, things that he has brought me through. Like I know for a fact, bro. Like I have put all my marbles on Jesus, and he answered my call. So it's like
Amen.
when I hear when I hear people giving, I watch YouTube videos, Muslims and Christians debate. Sometimes you come across people who not Christian and they kind of pump us in how they speak, like they almost like arrogant, like they laughing at the thought that you could worship
hmm
Jesus. These things don't shake me because I have an experience with him. So when we see Daniel in the lions, faced with the lions, then there's no doubt in your mind that what you're doing is correct. You know, the Sunday law, we about to get, deep into talking about different beasts and stuff like that. Sooner or later, we could touch on the mark of the beast. It's gonna happen. There's people out there who have multiple different beliefs, but in my mind, I like, bro, there's so much like tangible evidence, like not biblical evidence. Like I talking about, you could turn on the news and you can see evidence that point back to the Bible where it's like, your faith should be strong in the mark of the beast coming to fruition. Your faith should be strong in that. Like, it shouldn't be a debate, oh, is this true or not? You know? And so when it comes to faith, like, I feel like calling a spade is a big thing. You go through something, God brought you through something. It might not be the Cinderella story you was looking for, but if you can't deny, if you can accept that God held you through this thing, you know, it's important that you realize that, you know what I'm saying, accept that, and, you know, keep that at the forefront of your mind.
Amen. Amen. And so this week we are still in Daniel, and now we get into the prophetic half of Daniel. And so now we are Daniel chapter 7.
Yes.
And so me and Kazi was talking pre-pod, and we were just referencing somewhat like how interconnected this book is with different parts of the Bible, even with this book itself, but even like Revelation. A lot of people hear about Daniel and Revelation together because they both talk about different beasts that rise up. But so in this episode, we'll see how it goes. Granted, the Holy Spirit will lead, but we might be reading from a bunch of different sources just to put pieces together and provide the additional context that's needed. And so I think it's going to be a great episode. I think it's a needed episode, and this is kind of one of the reasons why we wanted to jump to Daniel, just to talk about some of these things, and just to shed light. I mean, as best as we can, you know. Again, the use of a breath of fresh air reflects the parties involved, and we deeply encourage you to use it as a conversational tool to further studies of your own. And we want you guys to be reading this yourselves. We want you guys to be studying yourselves. And again, you might have a different viewpoint than us. Share it with us. Let's talk about it. Let's go for it.
And even if you have the same viewpoint as us, we might not harp on a point that is important to you. You know, it's a lot of very important points to be made. You know what I'm saying? So forgive us if we don't touch all of them. We trying our best to do so. This might even be a multiple episode just on this one chapter, you know, but, you know, we doing our best to just tackle this great book. And it's people who are afraid of Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no need to be afraid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, what the Bible say? People fear for a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, my people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Right. So it's it's the lack of knowledge that should be the fearful thing. And that's an easy fix. You know, study to show yourself approved, and that fear can go away. But, you know, our main objective is to shed light on what can be an intimidating part of the portion of the Bible. And so, yeah, keep us in your prayers.
And even to further Kazi's point, right? Like, when people fear for lack of knowledge, here's the thing: the devil wants you to keep you ignorant, right? Because especially for the prophetic books, because if you don't know what was prophesied to happen, then you don't even know what you should be looking out for. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know what signs should be coming. You don't even know what none of these things mean because you're scared. And then if you're scared about it, you don't want to read it, and then you're going to just take what someone else writes, says, or just educates you on the topic. I mean, this kind of reminds me of in the book of Luke, when it starts off with this extravagant letter to my beautiful Theophilus? Theophilus, right?
Yeah, Theophilus.
Theophilus, right? And part of that was because Luke was saying, hey, there's a lot of different writings out here right now. Let me set the case clear for you. Let me tell you what is true. Let me separate the true and the false, right? And so, especially with some of these prophetic writings, the devil wants to keep you ignorant. So don't be scared of it. It's just another part of the Bible, and the Holy Spirit will, reveal things to you. And especially with part of these, but some of these things have already come to pass in this book. It's gonna be a fun journey. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get into it. So in chapter 7, verse 1. So in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head while on his bed. Then he wrote the dream down, telling the main facts. So you say this is
Oh, what you gonna say?
Go for it.
I say, can we pause right here? Because the last chapter we read,
Uh-huh.
Daniel was getting thrown in the lion's den, right?
Yep, in the
He
Persian
survived.
Empire.
He survived in the Persian Empire. However, that was chapter 6. Now in chapter 7, they say in the first year of Belshazzar, the
Mm-hmm.
king. So quick recap.
Yep.
Belshazzar was the king, not to be confused with Belteshazzar, which is Daniel's Babylonian name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Belshazzar was a descendant of Nebuchadnezzar. He was the king that got so happy and so brazen that he decided to take the royal ornaments and the royal, I guess,
Goblets.
china, yeah, right, from that the Babylonians took from the Jerusalem, the temple, and they was drinking out of them. And in the midst of it, writing the finger of God, the hand of God appeared, and there was writing on the wall. This was a few chapters back.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we see that Daniel is in how the book is compiled. He is reminiscing on, not even reminiscing. This is considering the timeline that we are already in. This is going back in time. So this happened at a time before where we are in the book of Daniel. So in the book of Daniel, we're in the Persian Empire. This happened during the Babylonian Empire, during the last set of years of the Babylonian Empire, but it was the Babylonian Empire nonetheless. So I just wanted to make a point of that.
No, that's fine. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So in verse 2, Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. And four beasts came up out of the sea, each different from the other. The first was like a lion and had eagle wings. I watched till its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
Okay. So in Bible prophecy, a lot of times when people say a sea, they talk about a nation with a lot of people.
Yep.
So it's like even in today's the verbiage, you might say this sea of people, but it's like a sea of people. Or you might go to a concert and it's like an ocean worth of people type of situation, right? So symbolically, a great sea, it means a densely populated region in the world.
Correct.
This beast came out of. So during this time, the Middle East, like in the Bahamas, we say something run the road. That means they all over. They they the main people, right? But the Middle East used to run the road during that time. Jerusalem area, Europe,
Mesopotamia.
Africa, Mesopotamia, that whole region right there, densely populated. You feel me? And we're gonna see a few beasts coming from this sea, and it's all related to this general area. It's not like, let's say like Russia, you know what I'm saying, or the United States, which I don't think is mentioned at all in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And so this great sea of people just represents a densely populated area. And the first beast, do you have an image, Earl?
Yes, I actually do.
Yeah,
I actually do.
The first beast they described as the first beast was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
Can you see my screen?
I see it.
Okay, perfect.
And one of the first things to note is that he saw the beast and he described it. It wasn't like he said, I saw a lion with eagle's wings. He described this beast that I saw, it was like a lion with eagle's wings. And this is, what people imagine the actual beast to look like. So here we see the lion with wings of an eagle.
Yeah, so even going back to Kazi's point, right? So like now there was a vision in Daniel 2, right? And we're going to see how Daniel 2 starts to correlate with Daniel 7, right? So now in Daniel 2, there was Nebuchadnezzar's vision, a dream, and there was a dream of a statue, and the head was gold, right? And now in Daniel 7, we see the first beast that came out of the water of this populated area was a lion and wings. And now if you go back in can you see this on my screen?
I could see the lion still.
The lions. Oh, because I'm only sharing the screen. Okay. I probably gotta change that. But either way, so in the lion and the eagle were two of the most majestic beings in ancient times, right?
Mm-hmm.
They still hold a lot of heavyweight right now too. When you think about, like, people say, you want to be a lion, that means you want to be strong, courageous, you want to be the king of the jungle, you want to be an eagle, you want to be one of the birds that could fly the highest, that could soar. You could soar above the clouds, you could soar above the bad weather, right? And what did God say about the head of gold? The head of gold would be Babylon. There would be no other kingdom as mighty as Babylon, right? And so now we see the
Mm-hmm.
mightiness of Babylon is being directly represented in this lion and this wings. And now even if you go back to ancient Babylon architecture, right? And some of the stuff they created, like the Babylonian Empire itself, like they themselves had like winged beasts that you can see even right now in the British Museum from the Babylonian time period. So now we know that this and alliance with Daniel too, because the first kingdom was Babylon. Now the first beast that we see coming up out of the water was Babylon. The first had the lion and an eagle's wings, and then he watched until the wings were plucked off. So essentially, starting to watch this kingdom become made humble, essentially brought to its knees, and it was made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. I'll let you tap back in.
Yeah. So one thing you'll notice with Daniel and Revelation, when they receive visions, especially visions that deal with present and future or present and past, it always starts from their perspective. So when Nebuchadnezzar had his dream, Nebuchadnezzar was during the time of Babylon. So his dream started off in the Babylonian nation, which was the head of gold. We spoke about this in chronology. In Daniel 2, they mentioned the statue with the different
Mm-hmm.
medals. And even the Daniel 2 explains that this represents kingdoms,
Mm-hmm.
right? Historically, we know that the Babylonians were overturned by the Medes and the Persians, who were overturned by the Greek, who were overturned by the Romans. And when we went through Daniel chapter 2, we realized that these metals, they continue to descend, like in terms of preciousness, if that's a word,
Mm-hmm.
And in Daniel chapter 7, we see it starting once again in Babylon. One, because that's how the timeline actually went, but two, because Daniel, this is during the time of Belshazzar,
Mm-hmm.
which means still during the Babylonian Empire. What's interesting though, when you go to Revelation 13, which we're gonna tap into sometime during this broadcast, but Revelation 13, when they describe that beast, they describe it from the timeline where they're already at. They don't start from the lion. You catch
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like they start during the Roman Empire because that's during the time where they actually are. And they talk about, the beast that was a combination of all the beasts, and then they talk about a future beast, etc. So that's one thing that's important to note, in my opinion, as we go through these prophetic books. So we start off with the lion that had eagle's wings.
Yes.
Babylon, which represents Babylon. They love lion with eagle's wings. They love lions. If you look on the ancient coins, you see a lion. If you look on the Ishtar gate, there's
Mm-hmm.
a lion, right? And if you look at so they don't really have like high def images of the lion and Ishtar gate, but some people believe that it's a part of his body that is a actual wing. Bro, can you pull that up? If you Ishtar gate, where's that? Which one is this one?
This is like one of the images I was talking about earlier. So this was in ancient Babylon. It's kind of like their
Yeah.
winged beast, but the Ishtar gate, I have that on another screen. Give me 1 second. We're just gonna
Yeah. So
just gonna do a
so
general
it
Google
it, it
search.
yeah. Just type in Ishtar gate lion. Um, that way you can get like a real close up view. Sorry for those who listen on audio. Yeah, I think that one is a good image. That one right there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we see his mane, right? His and then across his torso, it's not hair continuing. That those are supposed to actually be wings, and you can see by the shape of it,
Yeah.
as the shape of wings. So, um, yeah, you can see that consistently, um, Babylon is described as a lion, and then they also describe it with the wings. You know what I'm saying, of an eagle. So,
Yep.
and then to top it all off, this was during the time when Daniel actually lived. So it was pretty, pretty spot on that this represents Babylon.
And then now, in the verse 5, and suddenly another beast, a second, like a bear. It was raised up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth, between its teeth. And they said to us, arise, devour much flesh.
Okay.
So go for it.
Go for it. All right. So we know that the second kingdom. So another thing I'll mention, as we progress in this chapter, Daniel explains the dream to the best of his knowledge.
Yes.
He doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know the intricate detail of what's going to happen after the Babylonian Empire. However, he does know in general what's being what's trying to be what point is they're trying to get across. We have the privilege of being alive hundreds of years after Daniel, so we know we could cross reference this with history, right? You catch what I'm saying? So the Medes and the Persians. So head of gold in Daniel 2 equals the lion with eagle's wings in Daniel 7.
Mm-hmm.
Now we go to the second installment, which represents the silver. I think it's like the
breastplate of
silver
and breast and arms.
Right, breast and arms of silver, which now we see from a beast perspective. When they describe it as a beast, it would be like a bear with 3 ribs in its mouth. And what's interesting about this bear is that they say it was raised on one side, and that a lot of Bible scholars believe that this represents. Okay, so the bear in general and the silver represents the Medes and the Persian Empire.
The Medo-Persian Empire.
Medo-Persian Empire. Now, one thing we know about this empire is that one of the two
carried way more weight.
Right, carried way more weight. But from a secular historic standpoint, you hear about the Persians way more than the Medes. It's only by the grace of God we even really know about Darius the Mede, because if you go from a historic standpoint, they're like, oh no, Cyrus was the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like when you try to talk about who took over, who defeated Babylon and stuff like that, it's really you hear mostly about the Persian
Empire.
So which is why the bear is represented as being lopsided.
And then when you think about it, right? So now, even just think about animals. For some reason, the lion is the king of the jungle, right? Granted, I love lions. It's my favorite animal. So I don't get disrespect lions too much, right? But when you think about a bear is bigger, a bear is stronger, it's a little bit slower, but a bear has more force than a lion. And bears could be very, very ferocious, right?
Very.
And so now, what we see about this empire, it has 3 ribs in its mouth. Historians attribute that to like some of the 3 major conquests were Egypt, Lydia, and the third one, Babylon. How can I forget Babylon? That's the main one. That was the first rib. You know what I'm saying? So they attribute that to the ribs, and then arise and devour much flesh. The latter half of the Persian Empire specifically was very brutal. Oh boy, was it brutal. When you hear about the stuff that, Xerxes was doing, you don't really view these guys in in a peaceful light.
Right, in a benevolent light.
Exactly. So the kingdom definitely expanded, but they were a very brutal empire.
Hmm.
And so now,
But
after,
one thing,
go for it.
not just consistently. The second one was like a bear. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Yeah.
Correct. Correct. And so now, in verse 6, after this I looked, and there was another like a leopard.
Hmm.
On a sidebar, right? I was like, bro, you in Babylon. Y'all have all these animals in the Middle East? I know this is, I know it's a random thought and a random tangent, right? But I was like,
You
bro,
don't think they have leopards in the Middle East?
nah, I ain't
Think
saying they
about
might
Persia.
not have. I mean, they probably do, right? Don't get me wrong. Right? I ain't trying to be ignorant. I'm like, bro, you really getting around to know what all these animals look like?
Right. See, but yeah, right. That's true. That's true. That's true.
I don't know if there was zoos back in that day. They might have been.
Zeus is crazy. But so that's the thing, right? Like in certain parts of the Bible, we don't. Certain parts of the Bible, you would hear about people living in tents, like nomadic, like the Israelites in the land of Canaan and stuff like that. Like Abraham living in a tent. Like we don't hear about him having a house. So I think you're gonna run into more animals than we do in this day and age. And then
Exactly.
traveling too. Think about it though. Traveling. That's the thing. So if anybody went to Egypt, that's Africa, you know.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, telling the different type of animals that that they would come in contact with.
Yeah. 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 I mean, but we get into the geological point, the geographical point. That ain't gonna matter right now.
My question is, what animal do you think is kind of exotic among all of these animals? You think it's the jaguar?
The leopard definitely.
I mean,
Leopard's
sorry,
more.
the leopard. The leopard.
They more in jungles.
Mm. Okay, fair.
Anyway,
But yeah. But I'm just saying, bro. Like this. No, all right. Since we
no, I'm
already
saying
here,
it's possible. I'm definitely saying it's possible. I am not I am not arguing your point. I'm definitely saying it's possible. I'm just
no,
thinking for
I ain't
me,
arguing.
like, oh no, let's think. Cause we grew up on islands.
Yeah.
We were seeing lion
I
and
think
bears on TV.
I think that's why we saying that, bro. Because
That's
like
probably
in
why.
Florida, bro, in Florida, right?
Yeah, nah,
They got
Florida
a Florida
wild, bro.
panther. They got a Florida panther. They got bears. They got bears, bro. I didn't see it, bro. I see eagles once a quarter, bro. You get what I'm saying? Like,
But you see a leopard though.
I see no leopard, but the fact that we have a Florida panther, I'm just like, bro, that's
That's wild.
crazy. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
wild. That is wild.
But
Okay.
yeah.
So they were very diverse with their beasts that they used to see back in ancient times. So
Yes.
now in verse 6, right? After this I looked,
Uh-huh.
and there was another, like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Mm. Mm. So, all right. So you just
Mhm.
mentioned how the last beast was kind of like, it was kind of inhumane.
Mhm.
Some of the things they was doing. That's the reputation they had, right? I don't know much about the man's heart being given to it, which represents the lion. But I
Mhm.
will say that Nebuchadnezzar likened himself to be a god. You know what I'm saying? And he had to be humbled back to being a man. Back after being a beast, he turned back into a man. I don't know if there's any other historical reference beyond that. It probably is. Y'all forgive me for not knowing that. But it's interesting characteristics that are being mentioned of, among these 3 beasts. The
Mhm.
fourth one, the third one, I'm sorry, it says dominion was given to it. So
Yep.
now this third beast, leopard with 4 heads with bird's wings, is this is the beast equivalent to the what it was, the
Greeks.
bronze. Yeah, the bronze. I'm talking about from the metal from Daniel
Yep.
2. That
It
would
would
be
be
the
the
bronze,
bronze.
right?
It would be well brass, but bronze. Yeah.
Brass,
Same
yeah.
difference.
Yeah, different. Yeah, just depend on the translation of the Bible.
Yeah.
Some say bronze, some say brass. But yeah, so the third metal, and this kingdom represents, you just said it, the Greek Empire. The Greek,
Macedonians.
the Macedonians. So what is one thing that you could say about their claim, their run to dominance? If you could
Oh,
describe it,
it was quick.
it
It
was quick.
was quick. So I mean, so that even going back to describing these beasts, right? The lion,
Mm-hmm.
we know the lion powerful. We see the lion devours, the bear crushes, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
leopard is an ambush hunter. I like big cats. It come out wrong, but I like big cats. Lion is, no, obviously it's already say lion is my favorite animal, right? But I used to have a book about like what's the difference between a lion, a leopard, a jaguar, uh, all of them, tigers. Anyway, you get the idea, right?
A regular cat, a regular feline aficionado on the pod. I didn't know.
But I really dislike small cats.
No, I get that. But
I really,
it's like the feline species is so vast. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
The regular
it's
house
such a
cat, not a
range.
fine. Give me a dog any day. The funny thing about it, I like
Gotcha.
dogs, but I don't. I like dogs, but I don't like cats. But the big dogs don't really exist outside of a wolf, and then
Yeah.
cats, they just fast. Anyway,
Yeah. So yeah. So for smaller domesticated, you like canines, but
yeah.
for the bigger, wild, majestic is the feline. I agree. That's how I like it too.
See, like we like kindred spirits. But so one thing about the leopard is an ambush hunter. The leopard is one of these that when you look at it, the spots on its fur helps it to blend in with its environment. It would lay and wait in the tree and drop down from a tree and land on a day. It would like lay low in the grass and ambush whatever it's hunting, right?
Mhm.
And the Macedonians, well, when the Persians poked them a couple times, right? But put it this way, Alexander the Great conquered all of the known world at that time. That's, well, what was part of Europe then, Asia, and the Middle East by the age of 28.
Yes.
He did it very quickly for his lifespan. And when the Greeks started to move, he mobilized them fast. So they were like a leopard who moved very quickly hunting its prey. Right?
So
Go for it.
so the descriptor that said dominion was given to it, that's a key clue right there, because they dominated. They dominated and they did it quickly. It was leopard-like. And it's like, imagine you have a leopard, right? Fast animal. But
Yeah,
imagine
they're
if you
pretty
put
quick
wings
too.
on the, say it again.
I said they're pretty quick too, boy.
They quick, right? But imagine you put wings on it now.
Four
That's
wings.
like putting a turbo. It's like putting a turbo on it.
Turbocharge it.
Yeah, so yeah, I find that to be very poetic, bro. Like this like the imagery, is to me, it's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's spot on. It's so spot on that some architect, no, what's what they call people who archaeologists. I'm sorry about to say architect. Some archaeologists and um Bible historians, they try to claim that the book of Daniel was written during the Greek period. Because and they're one of their biggest, and they try to push this off like it's fact, but it's theory. And one of the biggest evidences they have is that during the Greek period, there was a rise in apocalyptic literature. Like that just became a very booming genre of books during that time. Oh, end of the world this, end of the world that, right? So imagine if Daniel was written during the Greek era, it's like you didn't have to guess. You could just look back and say, yeah, oh, Alexander the Great them ruled this way, so we can write it like this. The Babylonians was like this, and then the Medo-Persian was like this. So you could put life to the art. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, no, God put this in a way where it's like, no, this is going to come to pass. This is going to come to pass. This was written during the time of Daniel. This was written by Daniel. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, at the beginning of chapters, like, it would say, Daniel had this dream, or I saw, like, and verse 2, Daniel spoke saying, I saw in my vision. You catch what I'm saying? So this wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, this is named, like the book of Matthew. Like, people don't have concrete evidence that Matthew wrote that book. They just attributed it to him based on, context clues, But yeah, so when it comes to these beasts, spot on. and the parallels, Daniel 2 to Daniel 7. We see that God gave Nebuchadnezzar this dream as a statue. He gave it to him, showing the progression of metals. This is the progression of world powers that are going to conquer the world. And now we get introduced to the beast aspect. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar was the pinnacle of being a beast-like figure. His empire was the biggest, and he was one of the most pompous, one of the most malevolent. You catch what I'm saying? Like,
Agreed.
He didn't care, and he needed a lot of humbling. So God turned him into a beast. You want to act like a beast, you become a beast. And so now, when Daniel gets this vision of what's to come, God just cuts out the middleman. He's like, bro, these the type of beasts they was acting like. This one is an ambusher. You catch what I'm saying? This one greedy, like he trying to catch everything, and he doing it fast. You know what I'm saying? He doing it fast and swift.
Exactly.
So,
and then
very interesting stuff.
And then one more thing on the four heads, right? So like after Alexander the Great conquered the world relatively fast, he did that by age 28, and by age 32 he was dead. And so after that, the Greek Empire was never fully united again after that. And so after Alexander the Great died, his four generals, I don't even remember their names off the top of my head, probably could pull it up, but
Antigonus,
there you go.
Cassander, Ptolemy, and
I remember that one.
Seleucus.
It's like Sicius or something like that.
Yeah, I know how to pronounce. Forgive me.
But anyway, right? So his four generals carved up the empire, and four of them co-reigned, and that's kind of what happened in the Macedonian Empire after Alexander the Great. And it was never as strong as when he brought all of the Greek states together. So that's kind of it was quick. It was like quick, and after that it was just like four rulers. Like the kingdom was essentially divided in four after that.
Right, because after Alexander died, that didn't mean they lost the kingdom. You know
exactly.
what I'm
saying?
Like,
they still ruled, but it wasn't like how it was. So now in verse 7, after this I saw night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Hold on, before that, right? I want to read the description. And this, can you see my screen? This rendering is someone from online. Granted, no one really knows what the fourth beast looks like. We just have this dinosaur-looking figure.
No, I gotta say that every time they like it's usually like some sort of dinosaur they start off with. But that's the point I was gonna make too, because every beast they said it was like this. It was like a leopard. It was like a bear. It was like a lion. But this one, he ain't say it was like nothing. He said this was a fourth beast. It was terrible, and it was unlike any of the other beasts.
It was exactly. So he said it had iron teeth and all that, right? So now I'm going to read Daniel 2, verse 40. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron. For as iron breaks and smashes everything, and iron breaks things into pieces, so will it crush and break all the others. So now we see. Go for it.
Iron. So watch this, right? Among all beasts, one thing you know for sure a beast trying to do is eat you, is bite you. You catch what I'm saying? Like other beasts have different. Yeah, real talk. Like they have different.
You, right? I just didn't know that's where you was screwing with it.
yeah. They have different attributes, right? That give them advantages in their environment. But you think about everything, bro. You think about a lion, think about a Komodo dragon, like any carnivorous beast. They're gonna use their mouth, their teeth. You know what I'm saying? To either kill you or to eat you after you dead. You get what I'm saying? And so now this beast, Daniel couldn't even describe it, bro. Daniel couldn't even describe, bro. I didn't even know what to call this thing I just saw, bro. But just know the teeth was made out of iron. And the way they describe iron in Daniel chapter 2, they was talking about how it just crushed everything. You know what I mean? How it utterly destroyed.
Exactly. And now in Daniel 7, we seen it say it's devouring and it's breaking into pieces and trampling all the rest do with its feet. It was different than the other beasts before it, and had 10 horns. So it was Daniel saying, guess what? This fourth beast is completely different than anything else I saw before. To Kasi's point, I can't even describe what animal this is. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a literal creature, something undescribable, and it is very, very terrible.
Yeah.
Right? And it's interesting, both of them, and think about it, this is the only other beast that actually had a medal in it, and the medal directly corresponds to the medal from Daniel 2, iron.
Yes.
And we know which kingdom, which empire followed the Macedonian Empire. It was the Roman Empire.
Yes. You know what I think, though?
Mm.
So we know that you can't even compare the Roman Empire to any of these other empires because it was so different. It was so long. You guess what I'm saying? It was like hundreds of years that they was reigning, bro. Like, so you can't, I believe they couldn't put one specific animal to describe it because it was so diverse, right? But I believe that God made sure to include the iron so that it is so that you cannot mistake that this continues the trend in Daniel chapter 2. Because if we had a beast and it was just like ununiform to everything that was going on, people might say, hey, this can't mean Daniel chapter 2, because why? You know, if the legs is really Rome, this beast what they describe, I know who this could be. You catch what I'm saying? Because it's like, it was just so terrible. It was just so terrible, but that's not a true descriptor, you know? And terrible is relative. Some people could say what happened in the transatlantic slave trade, although that probably still deal with the leg of iron, if we being real. You get what I said? Like, but some people, like, just different times in the world, you could say it was terrible. But one thing you can't deny is the parallel between iron teeth and iron legs. This is the first time we even mention a metal in this book, in this chapter. And we mentioned already all of the parallels between the other metals. And now it just so happened in succession, the two things that are iron follow the same like chronology.
Exactly. And so now he said had 10 horns, and in verse 8, I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, coming up from among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. And there in this horn were eyes, like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words.
Mercy. So this Roman kingdom. Okay, so we know historically. So we know during the Medes and the Persians, Daniel lived, Esther lived. I can't remember who other prophets or whoever lived during that time, but it's documented. That time frame is documented in the Bible. During the time of the Greeks, no books made the canon that happened. We don't have any books of the Bible that happened during the Greek period. You know, it's a lot of speculation on that. You know, Greeks, they Hellenized everything. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if God had any prophets that wrote that he felt was necessary to be a part of our canon. But the fact of the matter is, we go from Malachi to Matthew to the Gospels, right?
To the Roman
and during
Empire.
The Gospels, it's the Roman Empire. It's the Roman Empire. Jesus had to go to Pilate. He had to go before Pilate. You get what I'm saying? The Jews, they had him before the Sanhedrin Council, but they couldn't put him to death. They could say they could vote for him to get crucified, but they didn't have to say to do so because they were subservient to the Roman Empire, you know? And so the Roman Empire, we can see it all throughout the book of Acts. They talking about, we have Paul, you know, we talk people being persecuted by, you know, just various kings in the Roman Empire, you know, and we could see the continuation from the Gospels straight to, to the book of Acts, kind of to the book of, to Revelation. But even after the Bible, we learn about the Protestant movement, you know. There's so many things that happen in regard to either the Roman Empire and the Roman Catholic Church.
Yep.
That all speak to the what's it called? These prophecies that we go to. So in the book of Daniel 2, we had the leg of iron, and then the feet of iron and clay.
And clay, yep.
Right? Feet of 10 toes, right? We see in this beast, the beast have 10 horns. Even more parallels between them. When we get, I don't know if I can't remember if it's Daniel 7, like the rest of this chapter, or Daniel 8, but we're gonna talk about what a horn represents.
I was gonna say, should we bring it up now?
Yeah, you can bring it up.
No,
I think it's in this chapter. I think it's gonna reveal itself in this chapter.
Yeah. So, oh my, and just even Nakhaz talk about like how the little horn plucked up three other horns, right? Like again, Revelation talks about this too, but yeah. We'll come back to it. Just to keep it going. Okay, verse 9. I watched till the thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair on his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame, its wheels of burning fire. A fiery steam issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. So think about it, right? We just got this. Daniel is having this vision, right? And he saw one beast, like a lion, a next beast, like a bear, a fourth beast, like a mutant leopard. And then he saw the most terrifying beast of his life. A beast so terrifying he can't even really put into words what he saw. The only thing he can say is it was a beast and it had 10 horns, right? And then one of those horns was uprooted, and this horn had eyes, and it started to speak pompous words, and somebody say these words were blasphemy against God. But then he has a sudden change in scenery. He was instantly teleported to where he saw, hold on, the Ancient of Days was seated on a throne. His garment was white as snow. His head was like that of pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame. So we see this guy got instantly transported, and his vision took him to see heaven. So now if you saw the most terrifying thing in your life, you saw heaven right afterwards, right? And then it was something interesting started to happen in heaven, right? Because now we see it almost looks like I don't want to say a court proceeding was happening, right? But he started to say, okay, people were ministering again. Guess what? The court was seated, and the books were open. Oh my! You want to say anything about those? Like, who was the Ancient of Days? I guess we were kind of already alluded to that, but that was God.
All right. So based on context clues, the garment being white as snow, his head was like pure wool. Wool represents whiteness as well. Throne being a fiery flame, but the thousands ministered to him, 10,000 times 10,000 standing before him. To me, that kind of gives it away that we know that this is God. The court was seated and the books were open. I believe that we're gonna have to have another episode that tackles this portion of it. Because,
go for it.
Because what really happened is that Daniel was getting so it's like two things happening at one time, right? It's like you might be watching a show where two things happening simultaneously, but you obviously can't watch two things at the same time. So now you showing us what type of systems will have dominion over the world until God comes, right? And we know this is until God comes because we know how Daniel 2 ends. In Daniel chapter 2, we see the statue, of all the metals, and then the stone that was cut without using human hands, destroyed, and his kingdom reigned forever. So we know this is God coming to, when Jesus coming to return, and establish his kingdom. We know that's going to happen. So we already have the end of the story, right? But what is happening simultaneously while these beasts just running amok on Earth? You get what I'm saying?
And talking crazy.
Talking crazy, bro. It's like it's bro. No lie, it's like a show, bro. It's like we watching a show because he pivot in the middle of telling us the horn was just like, so his eyes were like the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking pompous words, right? And then it switched. I watched till the thrones were put in place. Now we seen the ancient of days, right? And it's so funny because in verse 11, like I skipping ahead, but we can continue on this point. We can continue where we are, but I just skipping ahead for a second. It's in verse 11, it say, I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. So it's like he flashed from the horn to heaven back to the horn. You catch what I'm saying? So that let me know the horn was talking all through this time. This wasn't a chronological thing. These things are happening simultaneously,
right? And like just even some. Oh, go for it. You finish your point. I don't want to cut you off.
Let me just finish this point. So while the beasts are doing what they're doing prophetically, what God prophesied will happen, God is not just he's not just sitting around. I mean, he is seated on the throne, but the court was seated and the books were open. Something is taking place in heaven simultaneously as, you know what I'm saying, the world is going through its various transitions.
That's exactly, right? So now even just like a brief touch on which books could have potentially been open, right? Revelation 3:5. He who overcomes shall be clothed in white garments, and I will not blot out his name from the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Revelation 13:8. And all who dwell on earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life, and the Lamb who was slain from the foundation of the earth. That one has a little bit more context, but we kind of see. So now there's this book of life that becomes more prevalent in Revelation, right? That talks about some of the things that we're going to start seeing in Daniel, but is also expanded upon in multiple chapters in Revelation, right? So now, to Kazi's point, we see two things happening. There is a beast that is having dominion on earth at this time, right? Who is talking blasphemous things against God. And we know this beast that comes from the last kingdom. It came from one of the 10 horns that ruled the feet mix of iron and clay. And it plucked out 3 of those kingdoms and started talking to itself. That alone we could get from Daniel 7 and Daniel 2, right? But simultaneously, while this beast is blaspheming against God, we see God in heaven doing his thing now. We see the courts of being seated and the books of being open. And then now the Kazi's probably going to go to verse 11. And now he watched, because the sound of the pompous words which the horn has been speaking. I watched till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. And for the rest of the beasts that had that dominion, as for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. Yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time.
Let me just
go for it.
But hold your point. I want to mention one more text to the 2 or 3 texts that you just mentioned about the books. Right? Daniel 20 verse 11. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away. Right? And there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before God, and books.
That's verse 12 now, right?
Yeah, right. And another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged according to their works by the things which were written in the books. The sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and Hades delivered up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one according to their works. Then death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And anyone not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Now, I'll be honest with you. Daniel and Revelation, very complex books. Daniel 7 is speaking on
multiple things.
Right. Multiple things over a great span of time. You catch what I'm saying? So this ain't like, all this happening in one day or 1 year or even 1 millennium. You catch what I'm saying? So all of these things happen over a long span of time. And by the grace of God, when we get to Revelation, we're going to expound on that, even more. But, that's just to touch on what was happening while the little horn is speaking such pompous words.
And still, too, like even go to Revelation 13, just to talk a little bit more, right? So the beast was given a mouth to other words. Revelation 13, 5 and 6. The beast was given a mouth to other words and blasphemies to exercise his authority for 42 months. And it opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name in his dwelling place and all those who live in heaven. And it was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And it is given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation, all the inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast and all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain for the creation of the world. You know what I'm saying? So like now, and so, and the reason why I point this on too, right? We see this beast was given the authority to speak out against God, right? And we've seen the dominion. Because Daniel hints the dominion this beast had, right? But now we've seen the shared dominion in Revelation over every tribe, every people, every language, every nation. All the inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, right? So now, again, just to give you a brief cut and as to what was happening, we see happening in Daniel 7, verse 11, and Daniel 7, verse but that was 8, right? So just a little glimpse to like this beast that's really talking right now. And we see like, so the other beasts, all the dominion was taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. A season and a time. Whew. So now we cut back. Verse 13, I was watching in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom, the one which shall not be destroyed. And guess what this sounds like from Daniel 2?
Oh, like that stone.
Ain't that something?
Ain't that something? It is interesting. So, moving forward, anybody who reads the book, if you wasn't aware about the parallels, it's an interesting Bible study to have. Just comparing Daniel chapter 2 with Daniel chapter 7, because the main figures or the main items in Daniel chapter 2 are now personified in Daniel chapter 7. We see him in a different light. And we're going to come, I think we might touch on Daniel, Revelation 13 a little more, but we're going to see different characteristics about these beasts every time that it's discussed. And so right now, they talking about this right here, what we just read. It was the description of the stone coming and destroying the statue. And after the stone destroyed the statue, a kingdom arose, his kingdom, which was an everlasting one. And you can see that reiterated in verse 14. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom, the one which shall not be destroyed. So it's really a mirror image, these two chapters.
Exactly. Now, verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit within my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near to one of those who stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. Those great beasts, which are four kings which rise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever and ever. Then I wished to know the truth about the fourth beast, which was different than all the others, exceedingly dreadful, with teeth of iron and nails of bronze, which devoured broken pieces and trampled the residue with its feet. And the 10 horns that were on its head, and the other horn which came out before the three fell, namely the horn which had eyes and a mouth which spoke pompous words, which appearance was greater than his fellows. I was watching and the same horn was making war against the saints and prevailing against them until the Ancient of Days came, and a judgment was made in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom. Oh my.
So what's interesting about this is that all throughout this chapter, we learn about beasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be assumed that they're talking about a king, but right now we learn that they're talking about kingdoms. What verse you ended on just now?
I ended on verse 21.
21. All right. So I only going to touch on this right now. In verse 23, it said,
We can keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different than all the other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it into pieces. And the 10 horns are 10 kings, who shall arise from this kingdom, and another shall arise after them. He shall be a different from the first ones. She shall subdue 3 kings. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and laws. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and a half, for a time and times and half a time. But the court shall be seated, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and destroy it forever. Then the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven shall be given to the people and the saints of the Most High. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all the dominions shall serve and obey him. This is the end of the account. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly troubled me, and my countenance changed, and I kept the matter in my heart.
Okay, so I love when the Bible explains the Bible.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, the horns represents
kings,
right? The fourth beast represents a kingdom, right? And we know that this beast, this is where I get crazy to me. This beast stays in power until the Ancient of Days returns. This is the last beast mentioned in this book. Now, when we go to Revelation 13, they're going to add a little more context to that. But as far as we know, the same beast with the teeth of iron is the last beast that, makes war with the saints before God returns. And we know that this beast represents Rome. In Daniel chapter 2, it was the leg of iron, and then the feet of iron and clay.
Mm-hmm.
Iron mixed with clay, which actually does not mix. Clay represents people. Clay represents the dust of the earth. Clay is just dust and water mixed together. You make clay. You get what I'm saying? And so it's like symbolically, they're talking about how Rome is going to be mixed with every people, with just regular people. You don't have to be Romans. So when we think about ancient civilization, you and I, or even civilization in general, you and I are Bahamians because we born in the Bahamas. We have citizenship in the Bahamas. Our parents are Bahamians. You catch what I'm saying?
That's
so it's like,
fact.
Right. So it's like, if we weren't born in Rome, how can we be Romans? If we weren't born in Rome, our parents aren't Romans. You get what I'm saying? How can we be Romans? When we look at the feet of iron and clay, they talk about people who don't mix with Rome. Like there's nothing Roman about you, but together y'all are still a unit as feet. Why? Mm-hmm. Because of how this kingdom is set up. This kingdom is unlike any kingdom. In the same way, the Roman Catholic Church was unlike any kingdom because it's not a kingdom as you see a kingdom, but it has everything that kingdoms have. When you look at Vatican City, they have a military. You catch what I'm saying?
That they do.
The Pope is their king, but he's not looked at as the king, but he has every power of the king of that a king has, and all throughout. Ever since, Constantine made Christianity the official religion of Rome, this kingdom has been unlike any of the other beasts because you had kings making decisions, but then you also had their highest priest, which is the Pope, that the kings were actually subservient to.
Mm-hmm.
You catch what I'm saying? And it get to a point where the Pope started being larger than life. The Pope, like, bro, I could destroy kings. I could arrest kings. Why? Because you have something that constrain kings to obey you because you saying I come in the power of God. If we go by, and I just about to ramble, and you could cut me off at any time. when we look back at Christian history, right?
Mm-hmm.
We look in the Bible, we look at Acts, we look at Paul, and the disciples. They were not an organized religion. The vast majority of them are Jews. They went into all of these different Gentile nations preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. At what point in time did people start going to church? You know what I'm saying? Having deacons, elders, just having an organized religion. If the Bible, the last thing we know, they were just nomadic people walking from place to place, just teaching about about the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's a lot of things that happen in Christian history that happen after the Bible was written, but we have access to them. We can learn about Constantine and the Council of Nicaea when he established that the national day for Christians to worship on was Sunday, right? We could talk about how the Christian church at the time, which was the only church, was the Roman Catholic Church, how they used to tell people about indulgences. You had to pay to get into heaven. You understand what I'm saying? How they did not, they frowned upon actually reading the Bible. Anything you learn had to come from the priest.
Yeah, your priest, exactly. Cardinal, bishop.
That's what a lot of people say. That's why they call it the Dark Ages, because there was no light. There was no Bible. You couldn't read the Bible, and that sparked what we now know as the Protestant movement. A guy by the name of Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther, right?
The original guy.
The original guy, one of the reformists. He thought that his local city was bugging. Oh wait, y'all telling me to do all type of stuff that ain't in the Bible. He write a letter to the Pope, they didn't want to answer. You catch what I said? Like, people trying to shut him down until the day he say, man, I write this 96 thesis. I putting it on the door. Y'all getting indulgence wrong. We are justified by faith alone. You catch what I saying? Like, he write a bunch of stuff that was wrong with the Catholic system. You know what I mean? And they was trying to kill him for that. It's a bunch of people who protest the Catholic Church who got put to death, right? And this is where the little horn comes in. The little horn that wage war against the saints. But what's interesting to me about this is that these texts help me to believe that this is going to continue happening until the Ancient of Days return.
It does, right? I mean, because think about it now. Daniel saw the beast on earth and the horn talking crazy simultaneously while God was in heaven setting things in motion, and he simultaneously watches the Ancient of Days came back and slain the beast and threw its body into the burning flame, which again in Revelation we have chapters dedicated to each of these things. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? So like, we really just speed rush through human history right now. John had a little bit more time in isolation on the island of Patmos when he was getting his visions. Daniel was a busy man. I had a kingdom to help run. So Daniel's visions was a little bit more rushed, but boy, and to Kazi's point, yeah, the Ancient of Days, like, it's evident. It's evident that the beast that will be in power will be an offshoot of the Roman Empire, for lack of a better word, right? And come on, like we see that today, like which continent on earth still has like some of the most power? It's still Europe. It still is. And that's what the Roman Empire used to be. It used to be Europe. I mean, shoot, Rome is still there in Italy. In Italy's Rome. Where's Vatican City? Vatican City is in Rome, in Italy. You know what I'm saying? So, and then once we get into Revelation 2 and some of these other chapters, we get to start breaking it down some more, and we get to see, really unpack a little bit more of this timeline. Because what next chapter we started to talk about the ram and the goat that kind of coincides to these same kingdoms again from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that's super interesting, right, in verse 25, this horn shall speak pompous words against the Most High, and he shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and laws. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time, right? And remember, I was just reading from Revelation 13 a while ago, and we see how this beast was given dominion over all the peoples, languages, tongues, tribes. And then we see this beast isn't just satisfied with just talking about God. He's quite literally trying to change the law of God. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important to point out, right? Because people might just think these just man-made laws that Daniel was referring to. But think about it. Daniel was referring to laws that Daniel was referring to one, the divine realm, and what was happening on earth, right? But now this beast is talking directly out against God. So now, which laws do you think he is trying to defy and trying to change? It would have to be the laws against the same person he's talking horribly about, talking blasphemous about. Like, so now he's trying to change quite literally the laws of God. And you might ask, so Earl, what are the laws of God? And I'm happy that you asked that question. I'm happy that thought is on your mind. So the laws of God, which we explicitly found in Exodus, right? Called the Ten Commandments. And there's only one commandment that deals with a time. There's only
Time
one.
on the Lord. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a time on the law, and it represents the seal of God, right? Because God gives his seal, and he establishes his dominion. I, God, who created the heavens and the earth. You know what I'm saying? In 7 days. 6 days and rested on the seventh. And so remember that 7th day to keep it holy. Right? So now we're seeing this beast will talk out against and change the times and the laws of God. And so that's definitely something to keep in mind as we start going through some of these prophetic books, especially Revelation. So
my
go for it.
thing is, right, a lot of people, disagree with our beliefs on this, but they don't like. I respect people who disagree. I mean, it is what it is. But give me, people who just complain, but they don't give no alternative. They might be like, bro, but this ain't working. Okay, yeah, I can see it ain't working, but give me a better idea. You get what I'm saying? Like, show me what it would really would work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, people always disagree on the mark of the beast and who the beast is. I think it should be plain as day who the final beast would be. Even if you push back on the Roman Catholic Church, you cannot deny that it is Roman, this last beast. The teeth of iron. You get what I'm saying? Like the 10 toes, the iron and clay, right? There's 10 toes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Roman, when the Pope arose, this was during the 10 barbaric tribes, or you know what I'm saying, kingdoms of Rome. Like these things historically support, right? But at the end of the day, who do y'all think this little horn is besides the Pope, right? It's in the Roman system, right? They have this horn comes up, which is a kingdom, but they say it has eyes like a man, and it spoke like a man. It's like it's like such a individualistic type of attribute of a horn. Like a kingdom, of course they have a king, but it's a conglomerate, right? But no, the Pope is only one person. You see what I'm saying? Like the Pope is the highest pinnacle, and they speak and they have authority, you know what I'm saying, that transcends, religion, culture, XYZ, bro. When I went to, when I went to Mexico, I saw a lot of like people were Catholic over there. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously a lot of people in the Bahamas Catholic. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the Caribbean, most of the people who was
But a lot of people in the Bahamas technically Anglican. Technically.
A lot of people Catholic too, though. A lot of people Catholic too.
Yeah.
But I trying to say,
I get your point. Keep going.
No. I trying to say nations that were ruled by Europe, a lot of times they be Catholic. You catch what I'm saying? Like, very Catholic oriented. But so we see this horn that spoke pompous words. Bro, we could have a whole episode on on crazy stuff that the Pope has said, the popes have said. You catch what I'm saying? Like there are popes that say, bro, if I forgive you, that's just like Jesus Christ forgiving you. You catch what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
it's popes who like, bro, like I am the vicar
of Christ.
Of Christ. You catch what I'm saying? Like they speak crazy. Like they speak crazy, bro. And during the time of the Reformist movement, of the Protestant movement, bro, if you translate the Bible, they trying to kill you for that. But this supposed to be a Christian. It's supposed to be a Christian church, a Christian nation. I can't translate the Bible. I can't show you that what you all believe is not supported by the Bible. No, they calling you a heretic. They burn you at the stake. You catch what they saying? They arresting you. You know, they making sure you get diseases in jail. They ain't even checking for you. All type of torturous things that was done, bro. You could look this up. And when I was talking to my friend, and the one who I said doesn't believe in Christ, he was saying, but look at all the stuff that Christians do, bro. I like, bro, malpracticing Christians. Yes, these people who do stuff and say it was Christians, but they weren't Christians by the way they act. Not at all. You get what I'm saying? That's like somebody robbing a gas station with a mask of my face on it. You see what I'm saying? Like you like, but yeah, but I just see Kazi robbed the gas station. No, that wasn't Kazi. It looked like Kazi, but it wasn't. You see what I'm saying? Kazi don't act like these type of things, right? Excuse me. But anyway, the times and law situation, right? But it fulfilled the prophecy, the Roman Catholic contribution to history. It fulfilled this biblical prophecy in numerous ways. Firstly, times and laws, they're only going to be talking about times related to the Bible and laws related to the Bible. There's so many different nations in the world, bro. Every laws change every day. In America, in the Bahamas, like everywhere laws just change. You get what I'm saying? So what times and laws would be relevant? The times and laws of the Bible, right? What law in the Ten Commandments have a time? The fourth commandment. It say, remember, that's the law. We remembering to keep holy, that's the law. Well, what are we remembering? A time of the week, which is the seventh day. That's the time and the law. In the Council of Nicaea, when Constantine declared that Sunday is the official day of worship, that took away the general reverence that Christians had for the Sabbath. Yeah. Right, you catch what I'm saying? That makes Sunday the day. Like if you're a Christian, no, Sunday is the day. You sought to change times and law, but you can't change the Sabbath. That's why even when you try to Google these things, but I just asked ChatGPT yesterday, what was Constantine's contribution to Christianity? And they give me a long list of things, and it end off by saying he issued Sunday as the day of worship, the venerable day of the sun, right? But Adventists, what we used to do for a long time, we used to say, Constantine changed the Sabbath. You try to support that, like you try to look that up, you ain't gonna find nothing that say he changed the Sabbath, because he didn't come up and say, oh, Sunday is the Sabbath. No, he say Sunday is the day of worship. Sunday is the day we worship. That's why the Bible say he would seek to change times and laws.
Yeah, because you can't change the law of God. You could. One thing you could do is try your best. Water.
Yeah, you know. And so also when it comes to man-made times and laws, the reason why we on the Julian calendar now is because of the Roman Empire. Oh, I just lost my light again.
Yeah.
I just forget to charge this up. But anyway, the reason we are on the Julian calendar, right? The reason the days of the week are identified the way it is all, especially on this side of the world, I should say, it's all because of the Romans. You know what I'm saying?
The reason why February have less days, the reason why July have 31 days and August have 31 days, the only 2 months back to back that have that.
Think, bro, some stuff all scrambled up, you know. Think about it, bro. The prefix oct, right? It means 8. Octagon, octopus. You catch what I'm saying? Why is it the 10th month? That's my birthday. My birthday in October. Why is October the 10th month? You catch what I'm saying? Like, bro, like people, they just change stuff to benefit them whenever they see fit. You know what I'm saying? And so from a prophetic view, it's so uncanny, the boxes that they check. And I know I was kind of all over the place, y'all forgive me. But the boxes that they check, number one, the last beast, we know it's going to be Roman. Even though in Daniel chapter 2, the legs was made of iron, the feet was iron and clay. this a mixture. Romans with the people. You catch what I'm saying? Romans, that's why, like, you could be African and Roman Catholic. You could be Bahamian and Roman Catholic. You could be Mexican, Roman Catholic. It's a mixture, bro. You don't have to be Roman to be a part of this nation. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's why this kingdom was unlike any other people, because it was not confined to culture and race, you know? And so, yeah, that's why it's crazy, bro. So imagine trying to visualize that to Daniel. You're like, boy,
Yeah, Daniel was like, what's happening?
Yeah, bro, like this everything at the same time, bro. I just gotta let you know, boy. This last beast, it just gonna be
different.
terrible.
It different. So now just like going back over the chapter, right? So now we see, man, Daniel 7 opened the gate to a lot of things, man. So it really opens the gate to prophetic writings and prophecy and some of the prophetic symbols that we see in the Bible that you're gonna have to keep in mind as you go through the rest of Daniel and Revelation, especially the last part of Revelation, because the beginning part of Revelation is to the rest of the churches. But I digress, right? But Daniel 7 really starts to kick things off in prophecy and really gives you a peek into what's happening, right? But you know what's like nice about this chapter? I mean, barring all the scary elements, right? We see that there's a God seated on the throne, right? Even as things are going chaotic on earth, even as the little horn is speaking out and blaspheming and defying God, we see God already has his plan. And we see the Ancient of Days also coming to the Father in the clouds of heaven, you know? And dominion was given to him. So now the horn is on earth saying, oh, all of this booger, ray, but in heaven, we know Jesus is on our behalf going to the Father, claiming dominion back for us. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And setting up a kingdom that won't be destroyed. And man, it's just powerful to remember, man. Because like things are gonna get crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like things are gonna get crazy, especially if you go through Revelation and see some of the timeline or some of the signs that need to come to pass and some of the things that need to go in order until Christ comes, right? But man, it's just powerful to know like how it ends. You know what I'm saying? Like even Daniel 7 gives you a quick snapshot. Like these beasts came and had dominion over the earth and wreaked havoc, but Christ still came back and destroyed the beasts. You know what I'm saying? The Ancient of Days, Daniel even knew I wouldn't say he didn't know who Christ was, but Daniel knew he served God. And he knew at the end of the day, God is coming back and dominion was going to be given to God to claim our lives. I don't even know how to end this chapter, but it's just powerful. It's just powerful.
Yeah, no, I get it, bro. And I feel like so much. I feel like it's so much you could still
Yeah, it's so much we can still
bro.
say and unpack, but it's like you're stealing thunder from other episodes now.
Yeah, bro, for real, bro. Because my thing is, I don't want to be like I dogpiling on Catholicism, right? But if we compare Bible to the history of Catholicism, these things do not match. You catch what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like manipulating people to pay for pay their way to heaven. That ain't Bible. You catch what I'm saying? Like implementing various statues and ornaments and idols and saying, hey, this saint, this person, you catch what I'm saying? Like that ain't of God. Like it was monks during them times who used to try to fast their way into heaven. That's how Martin Luther ended up, being on the path that he was on, because he was a monk.
Yeah.
And he was trying his best to fast his sins away. And it was things that like he would go crazy trying to fast, but like almost killing himself. And these sins just wouldn't leave him. You know what I mean? Like he in his book he was saying that like he was a very pious man until he realized that we are saved by faith. You know what I mean? Like we are saved by faith in God. And so like, people in the Middle East, there was wars, Christians versus, the Muslims, and the Christians versus the Vikings, and all of these people conquering, bro. Even Constantine, when he decided to become Christian, he allegedly had a vision of a cross that say, in this symbol, you will conquer, right? And that was his way of thinking, oh, should be Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But that completely contradict what Christ even got when Peter was trying to fight. He was like, but you live by the sword, you die by the sword, bro.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? This ain't the type of kingdom I come to do. This ain't the type of action that I am here for, you know? And so it's like they do their best to paganize Christianity in every way. You know, we killing people, we forcing them to be Christians, we punishing you if you disagree. We making you worship on the day of the sun. You know, we bringing in idols. We bringing in all type of different philosophies. We changing the days of the week so that it could better impact us. You know, in the Bible they used to say, but you never hear in the Bible they say on Wednesday, on Thursday. The Bible says it's the first day, the second day, the third day.
Exactly.
You catch what I'm saying?
These Norse names didn't exist yet. Keep going.
You catch what I'm saying? Like Wednesday, like the day of the sun, the day of the moon. You catch what I'm saying? Like all of these things just really paganized, and it was adopted by Christianity. Right, and the world at large. And even down to slavery. We're not slavery, bro. Some people revere Christopher Columbus as like a saint, not black people, not people who've been enslaved. You know what I mean? Like y'all, but we looking at you like, bro, you open up the door for people to do some very unspeakable, crazy things. And these people was Christians. These people was Christians, bro. Even when America was created, bro, Americans, they came here, quote unquote, discovered, which they didn't discover. We know that. You see what I'm saying? They ambushed and they stole this land because they was trying to get away from Catholicism, bro. They was trying to come to a country where the church was not ruled by the state. I mean, the state was not ruled by the church. Because in Europe, it was only one religion. And it was like, bro, whatever the Pope say, the Pope is our king. Regardless if he was a king or anything like that, we ruled by our religion. And our religion is based on man-made traditions. Whatever the Pope say, basically, or whatever the popes before them say. You know what I mean? And this is history, bro. We used to learn in the Bahamas, we learned about the Lutheran adventurers, bro. These Europeans come to our country in the Bahamas. The social studies books say they were seeking religious freedom. No, bro. Say they was running away from Catholicism, bro. Wasn't no religious. I mean, they was seeking religious freedom. You get what I'm saying? But they were seeking it from one entity. The Roman adaptation of Christianity, which was malpracticing Christianity. It's not the Christianity that Jesus promoted, that Jesus came and implemented. It's not the Christianity of the New Testament or of the Bible. It was a perverse, polluted version of that. And so so we have the Bible, we have prophecies where God telling us, hey, there's gonna be this beast, bro, and he could be speaking blasphemous, right? Bro, when Jesus tell, I think it was the lame man, his sins was forgiven. You know what the Pharisees tell Jesus? He was blaspheming.
He was blaspheming because only God can forgive sins.
Only God can forgive sins, right? But it's a common practice that you go into the confessional and you confess your sins to another man so that he can say whether you forgiven or not. You know what I mean? The indulgences thing, it's like you pay enough money and your sins can be forgiven. You pay enough money, you could get yourself into heaven. You could buy a plot of land in heaven for you, for your Grammy, for whoever. You get what I'm saying? For your dead loved ones.
They was making money, son.
They was making money, bro. And there was a lot of people who was poor. They was like, bro, I don't even have no hope of going to heaven. You know what I mean? I was reading a story about this dude. He was once Catholic, but he turned Adventist. He was saying, bro, when if some in this neighborhood died, bro, and it was so sad because there's like, bro, he know they don't got no money. This was in the 20s, bro. This is in the 1920s. He's like, bro, they don't got no money, dog. So this person just could stay in purgatory until somebody could bail them out. Type of situation. So they, you get what I'm saying? So he could get to heaven. And it's funny because the reason why we have so many denominations is because, bro, so many people wanted to escape from the bondage of the first church, Catholicism, of Roman Catholicism. That's why we have so many Protestants, bro. You know, we have, you know, I don't want to just go out and name it, but you catch what I'm saying, you know.
There's a lot.
Over time, it's a lot. And over time, some Protestants come out of other Protestant nations, like the Adventist Church. We come from, I think Methodist and Baptist and stuff like that. But overall, we see the impact that the Babylonians, they ruled over the Jews, right? It's God's people, right? Same with the Medes and the Persians, same with the Greeks, up until the Romans. The Jews and everybody else was, for the most part, ruled by the Romans, right? But it came a time when Christ came and died for us. So now the fullness of time was fulfilled. His prophecy, the prophecy of the Messiah coming, had been fulfilled. Now we have a greater understanding of the reason why we're here and what God came to do, right? But even though our nation, we live in a free country, you and I, right? We ain't subservient to no other country. But it's like the Bible is telling us that there's one beast that's still going to rule, that's still going to rule up until the ancient of days come. In Revelation, we're gonna speak on that a little more because it's some nuance. It's a beast, but it's like it's parts to the beast. You catch what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's parts to it, but it's still one system. It's that Roman related system type of situation, right? So it leads me to believe that this, even though right now we don't have to be subservient to no king, right? It leads me to believe that this is not complete. They talking about how the saints are gonna be persecuted and stuff like that up until the ancient of days return. And so that leads me to believe
that's the next thing we can talk about. But I will keep going.
No, I just saying it leads me to believe that this is not complete. It's just taking a break. Hey, bro, in Revelation 13, bro, when I just want to touch on one thing. You kind of touched on it for a second, right? They talk about Revelation 13 verse 3, and I saw one of his heads, right, as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshiped the dragon, which is the devil, who gave authority to the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, who was able to make war with him? And he was given a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months, right? So this head, right, was given authority by the dragon. And because the dragon gave him his power, everybody was marveling. Hey, this beast, this system, we so great. Nobody could stop us, right? And it said that he was speaking blasphemies. Who else do we know was speaking such blasphemies and pompous words? That horn that subdued three kings, that uprooted those other horns. And it said he was given authority to continue for 42 months, right? What is so interesting but the 42 months? In Daniel 7, verse 25, he shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and laws. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time, a times, and a half of time. And so in biblical times, right, the word times just mean a year. Time means a year. Times means 2 years. And a half a time means half a year. If a year is 2 months, is 12 months, I'm sorry. Times means 24 months, right? 12 plus 24, that's 36. Half a times is 6 more months, right? 36 plus 6 equals 42. For 42 months, wow, would you look at that? In Revelation 13, verse 5, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months.
42 months, yep.
Bro, when we gotta, that's why I'm saying, bro, this book is so complex, bro, and it takes so much time. I think in Daniel chapter 9, we're gonna have a specific prophecy that deals with years.
Yep.
And it coincides with history, you know what I mean? And it's markers in history, so you can mark it. And these times and these years and these numbers, they're gonna keep coming back. So when we I think in Daniel chapter 12, I think they talk about this again. You know what I'm saying? So by then, we're gonna touch on it for a little more, because right now that wasn't even the point. Yeah, at the time, and that wasn't even the point in this thing. They just happened to mention, hey, this little horn, he could be doing this for a certain season. You get
for a while, yep.
For a while, you know what I mean? But anyway, I say all that to say, God give us in Daniel 2, in Daniel chapter 2, God give us the time, the map. He give us the layout of what the people of God are going to be subject to. The Jews, who was the only people who actually cared about the Most High God at large, right?
Mm-hmm.
During that time, they were subservient to these four nations. And now that Jesus has come, he told his disciples to, go into the world preaching the gospel to everybody, right? So everybody could get the gospel. And that's why we are in the feet of iron and clay, because the Romans, they're not going to be in control over us, but they had such control over Christianity, which was a mixture of all nations. Most nations adopted Christianity and learned about it. And at the time, the Roman Catholic Church had the monopoly over that. Now we at a place where information is free. Everybody could come and learn as much as they want, but it's not going to stay like that. The Bible tells us that this little horn was wounded. And the next time we see it, he can come back as if like, oh yeah, y'all had me down for a little bit.
I got all my strength back.
But I healed and now I back. You catch what I'm saying? And so God has blessed us with the timeline to show us, hey, this is the overall layout of what's going to happen. And it's a lot of nuance that's going to happen in between. But this is how it ends. God, the Ancient of Days, shall return for the saints, although the saints going to endure persecution. You know what I'm saying? But the Ancient of Days is going to come to save us, establish his kingdom, and his kingdom will last forever. In this episode, we learn of Daniel's visions of the four beasts. Each beast rose out of the water and resembled a combination of animals. But the fourth beast was unlike any other beast. Then we learn that these four beasts represent four kingdoms, and the fourth beast will consume the entire world until the heavenly court sits and judgment takes away its dominion and destroys it. Then the Son of Man will return in the clouds, and it will be given everlasting dominion, glory, and a kingdom that will not pass away. And this troubled Daniel. But let's just say there's more visions to come. But we'll talk more about that on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.